In today's video, we unbox the new Chaos Space Marines Start Collecting set for Warhammer 40K. Let's take a look. Here we have the new Chaos Space Marines Start Collecting set. It comes with 16 Citadel miniatures. It is for their Warhammer 40K game. So let's see here. There we go. It comes with 1 Master of Possession, 2 Obliterators, a 10-man unit of Chaos Space Marines, 2 of the Greater Possessed, and 1 Venom Crawler. One of my favorite things about the 40K sets is this right here, where they always give a paint scheme so you know which kind of paints are recommended to help try to duplicate what they show on the box. This is a great benefit for new beginners, for new painters, that you have this information to know what they use. So especially if you are new to 40K, this plus their Warhammer TV introductory videos is a great starting point in learning apparatus. It also gives us a little bit of lore for the Space Marines themselves. Well, let's go ahead and crack this guy open. And here, let's verify before we do that, yes, we do have the 1 Master Possession, the 2 Obliterators, 2 Greater Possessed, 1 Venom Crawler, and the 10 Chaos Space Marines. Very cool. That off to the side, and right off, of course, we have the rules, instruction guides, rules, all of that. This is one of the things that I like about the new Start Collectings, or the new sets in general, is that they are starting to come with a color build manual. This will come in handy because usually they show a few more painted models. Usually there's a little more of a color scheme in here, but more importantly, when you see things like this red, green, you see, you know, little icons like this right here, it really helps you during the build process, and the fact that it is colored really helps those points of interest to really show up. Let's go ahead and flip to that. Oh, and see, and this is great. Here we do have a much more in-depth color guide, where here we go side by side, where here you have the basic one on the back of the box. This would be more for your tabletop army. These are some recommended colors for that, but they go into great detail on everything right here. And this would be more of their army on parade recommendations. All of the things that you would need to be able to do, like the base, the layers, all, you know, all of that stuff to really get your miniatures as close to what they show as possible. Additionally, here it is showing that this is made in the UK. For what I understand with UK rules, if it says made in the UK, it must literally be that, not just put together in the UK. So hopefully that means that these sprues were manufactured in their UK locations, not in their China shop. Their China shop is getting better, but the UK is of course going to be the superior product that's going to come from there. Let's go ahead and see what else we got. We can go ahead and leave this here. We have our 10 Space Marine bases. We have our 3 bases. This will most likely be for the Greater Possessed and for the Master Possession, but we'll have to take a look at that. Then, of course, we have the sprues, the one sprue for that Master of Possession, one sprue, and this is kind of interesting how compact they have gotten everything, where here we have the Venom Crawler, and here we have the two Obliterators. Next, we have the next sprue on here. This is going to be our 10 Space Marine and our 2 Greater Possessed. And then finally, we have the larger bases. I am guessing these base sizes, and again, we'll know for sure once we dive into that instruction manual where this is the 100s. These are the 50s. These are probably 40s, and these are probably our 32s. But again, we'll dive a little deeper into that once we get there. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at all of the sprue. Now, one thing that you will notice is that these new sprues by GW are a much more compact design. You will see very little empty space here. If you were to go back to some of your older kits, you will see a lot more empty space. So while at first glance you're thinking, I am not getting as much content here in this new set as, say, some of the older ones, it's a little deceiving, where I can pretty much guarantee that if this same group of miniatures was made, say, 10 years ago, we definitely would be looking at double the sprues, or at least an extra one. Usually here, when I'm looking at the Citadel sprues, I consider this right here to be one sprue. So this would be a double. And usually it's because a lot of their stuff comes in these smaller boxes. And to the point where a lot of times this is even separated so you can break it open or break it apart. So again, so this is kind of one, but in a way, GW standards, it's kind of 2 sprues right here. Let's go ahead and flip it over real quick so you can see there. And we will, of course, do a close-up view of this. There we go. And then I love how in here there's not as much customization as you do see a lot with the older sets, where you will have multiple heads, multiple weapons or whatever. But one of the things that we do have going for us here is a lot of these units are kind of different. There's a lot of customization within the units themselves, where you will see a lot of the backpacks being slightly different. You will see a lot of the weapons being slightly different. Let's see here if we can take a look. Especially, I've noticed, like here in the backpacks here, you can see a lot of these will either be a flat, or they will have like here we have some skulls on them, or some horns, or some spikes. Right here we have some spikes going on right there. So while there's not a ton of different options for you to choose, your units themselves will be different because of all the different backpacks. So that is something to keep in mind, because a lot of times if this is your army of choice, you will probably not buy just the one start collecting, because these are a great value. They are a great starting point. And a lot of times you do want more than just 10 of your foot soldiers to go into battle. So you will be buying multiples of these so you can get those larger armies. And here, if you were to buy, say, 2 or 3 of these, you probably wouldn't then use all 20 or 30 Marines, but then that does give you a lot more of the backpack, so you can choose if you, say, wanted a bunch of the skulls, or if you are a bunch of the horned or spiked ones. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at the next full sprue, or the double sprue. Once again, this is for your Venom Crawler and for your 2 obliterators. There we go. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at these guys. The back, and here a lot of the back is going to be covered up, so there's really not as much to see here, but I thought I would point it out anyway. It's going to be more meaningful here for the obliterators probably, so you can see their back side. But again, not as much extra parts going on here. But I do like the detail. I like all of these little bits that we get to see here. There is a lot going on. Like, look at that. That is pretty wonderful. A lot going on here. Very cool. And then finally, we have our Master of Possession. Right there. Now, one thing I do always like to look at nice and closely, especially for the HQ that comes with the set, is how easily is this guy for kit bashing or reusability. Because again, if this is your army of choice, a lot of times you will get more than one of these sets, which means you will have 2 or 3 of these Masters of Possessions. And it's one of those, do you need all of that? Do you need multiples? Well, here we have the backpack. This is a very cool backpack. I definitely could see where you might want to reuse that backpack later on within kit bashing, to give others, captains, other of your HQs, a more cool looking backpack. Another part that is very useful within this set is his staff, because if you notice, the top mount is separate from the staff, where it'll join in right there. That is useful in the fact that you could very easily kit bash this into another, not necessarily even Chaos Marines, but into something else where you could put maybe like a Space Wolves rune set on there, because this is, the hand is basically just a gauntlet hand that very easily could be reused in a lot of other purposes, to give a staff to somebody else. The next potential, and this I don't know for sure, is his backing and his cape. All of this is separate. I don't know if we'd be able to fit on a front face right there or not, but I could see the potential possibly of that. There might be a little bit of molding that needs to be done, a little extra work that needs to be done, but potentially that could also be reused. Of course, since his head is molded on there and is all part of the body with all these extra bits, this part probably won't be able to be reused all that much, but a lot of this I can see as a potential reuse. So there is a little bit of potential and value here within this Master of Possession to reuse this guy if you do get multiples of this set. Next up, we have the instruction manual. Once again, I love these newer Start Collecting manuals and these newer set manuals as they are colored manuals. One of the things that they really do point out right here on the rip is when you notice this red exclamation that this is a point of concern. Pay attention to this. This usually means they want to make sure that you put things on directionally appropriate, so that you don't accidentally mess anything up. Once again, here it is showing that yes, we have everything. We have the one single small HQ sprue for that Master of Possession. We have the which this doesn't look right to me. That doesn't look, I mean, maybe it is, maybe it's right. But this doesn't look like there's as much there as in the actual thing. Let's see. Flip you this way, and actually, yeah, it is. That's, wow, it looks so much more compact even than right there than it does right here. That's pretty amazing. But we're here, we have our Space Marines and our 2 Greater Possessed, and here we have our Venom Crawler and our 2 Obliterators. Let's see, our base is the 100, 250s, 340s, and 1032. So we were right there. That is pretty awesome. First up, we go to show the instructions for that Master of Possession. And yeah, as we can see, that staff is a build option where the mount attaches onto here. Again, that gives you some great potential for kit bashing in bringing this into something else and just giving a different top for that staff to come on. The next thing that I noticed right off the rip by here looking at these instructions is with his fire orb or whatever that is, where the hand for that is separate. And here we can see that right there. There's the hand. So this gives us the potential, because again, I don't know his rules yet. We'll get to that later in the books most likely, but I'm guessing he is going to have other weapon options. So if you were to get another just hand with, say, a pistol or a sword, depending on what weapon options he has, I could see you magnetizing this portion of it so you can swap out that weapon. And that brings us to a great point of magnetization, that with magnetization you can do that for multiple reasons. One of the big reasons for doing that is so you can have multiple different weapons. Like here we have this gun, or just different weapon options, and that way you can build out your army as you need it for that battle without having to buy multiples of the sets, where in this battle you find that you want multiple guns and you just magnetize the arms with the guns so you can pop all of the guns on. But then later, if you find out that, hey, no, I want more melee type stuff, then you would switch to that, and all you would have to do is switch out the arm rather than the entire figure. And since you have all of those within the kit, it makes it a lot more cost effective. Another thing that you can do, though, is even if you're just playing the one single guy that has, that he is what I'm playing, he has all of these weapons available to him, that you bring into battle, whatever you can do to make your play more fun and more realistic is going to keep you playing, keep you involved. So if, like, during the battle, if this round, if you're actually using this as your weapon, that is what you're fighting, then you pop that hand on. Then later on, you're saying, oh, wait, he's going to grab his pistol, sword, whatever it is, and he is going to attack the person with that. For you to actually be able to pop that off, pop that new weapon on, again, brings realism to the battlefield. So that would be another reason why you would want to magnetize. Again, not just for cost-saving measures of being able to put multiple weapons for that loadout, but for when you have a single character with multiple weapons available in the battle for each individual round, just being able to swap them out. That is very useful. All right, so let's see what else we got here. And then here, again, we have some more different loadouts for our Marines. And again, here where we can see the different weapons available. So again, here where you would have, where you'd want to magnetize into here so you can swap out those weapons and use what you need at any given moment. This is a good point to look at when you are doing a double-handed weapon. Usually you will glue these parts together and put a magnet on the shoulders, on those kind of connected, so it'd be on this little arm joint and on that shoulder point, so it'll kind of hook in like a clamp, and that would be how they would come out. And I'd be willing to bet that this other arm has, let's see, no, maybe not. I was thinking there might be another even kind of different weapon option that might stick off of that hand. Oh, there we go. That might be it right there. So here, most likely, as I'm guessing, is so the magnet could be either for this weapon and this, or it could be for this arm and say one of those two. So again, that's where you can see a lot of that variety coming in and a lot of those different options available to you. Here we can see the build for the Greater Possessed and then the Obliterator. And over onto here, the Obliterators are a little more detailed. Let's see. And there are different options. You can see here where we have the different guns, different type hands, even here, different types of hands. So by the looks of it right off, there is a lot more potential customization here for the Obliterators than there are for some of the others. So it'll be interesting to see how much of this we can design so we can magnetize it to be able to have one guy really be able to have any kind of the different options that we want. And then finally we have the Venom Crawler. And this is another great example of magnetization, of another reason why you might want to do magnetization. And as we can see here with his arms, that here we have a little basing material pre-done, that this one leg is going to attach to that base, and this leg has a little bit of basing right there. Those two would be glued down to your base. Those two alone should be enough to secure him to the base. What that is going to then allow you to potentially do is magnetize these two legs. Now, you would never swap out those legs for something else, but what that does then allow you to do is in-game play, move those legs around. So if maybe you're coming up near a vehicle, or if you're coming, or just, just moving, so that way you can, have it there, or you can move it so it looks like it's coming up here. So he's really moving around and crawling. Again, the things that you can do to help bring your game to life will keep you playing and keep you coming back to the table for more. And that would be another reason for magnetization, outside of just the money-saving options of being able to swap out weapons, of being able to adjust the legs and adjust movement as such, so you can make things look more real and have things come to life. Another thing to watch out for when building these guys is when you put these legs together, when you put him completely together, a lot of time during the painting process, it can be hard to get in here and paint those. So all these little arms, you might want to consider leaving these separate. If you needed to look this up, it would be called sub-assemblies. That's what you would want to look for. That's what, the more information you would want. But so that way you could paint the body separately and then each leg individually separately. And then once you have everything painted, then glue them all together. Where the only point that you really don't want to put a whole bunch of paint on is the point where the glue will attach everything together. Or you might need to scuff that up a little bit, because glue does not glue very well to paint. because the paint can come off fairly easily. So you want to make sure you're gluing plastic to plastic, not glue or not paint to paint. But especially here when you have a lot of these kind of things where stuff is getting covered up really well, or if you have like a hand that goes over and covers the body, that arm, you might want to magnetize, not just because I'm thinking, hey, I want to swap that arm out at a particular moment, but because I want to make it easier for me to do sub-assembly and paint those separately. Because once again, the body part and the behind the arm section that you would be painting, if it's real close to the body, might be hard to get a hold of. So by working in sub-assemblies, you definitely can save yourself some aggravation when it comes to painting those portions. And up next, I'm betting, yep, and up next we have our rules. And sure enough, here we can see with our Master of Possession, one of the items that he does have is a bolt pistol. So again, I can see where you would want to, because here he doesn't really have a gun that I can see. There's a knife there. Oh, there it is. There's his gun right there. But I can see where you might want to get another hand holding a pistol so that you can, in battle, pop that off, pop the hand with the gun on. Again, to add to that play feature. So here we have our Master Possession, our Chaos Marine rules, our Greater Possessed, our Obliterators, and finally our Venom Crawlers. And I would be willing to bet that the rest of the book is now going to be the same thing. Yep, but in all of our different languages. And then once again, finally, we come to the paint guide. And again, it's even nice where they kind of like show these little arrows showing to where they are talking about, but a very detailed, very large paint scheme, so you can see what all that you might want or what you might need to get to try to replicate what they have shown. Well, that is everything that you get within the new Chaos Space Marines Start Collecting set. I hope this unboxing has helped you to determine if this is the right set for you, if you are interested in this one, to be able to see all of the different components, the detail, all of your different options. And I hope I was able to inform you and talk to you a little bit about magnetization. Wasn't planned within this one, but I saw so many nice opportunities here. I figured I would use this as a brief short to go over some of the other reasons for magnetizing on top of just your standard money-saving, swapping weapons out. Well, until next time, guys, I'll see you later.